This is a station identification moment. You're listening to CPR Worldwide Media, a division of CPR Media Network, coming to you live right across the planet. Check out our website at www.cprworldwidemedia.com and our Facebook page at facebook.com/CPR Worldwide Media. This is CPR Media Network, coming to you live from the USA.
Well, looky here, a new listener. Hey, this ain't your little sister's radio station.
Over the next 40 years, the United States population is going to grow by over 90 million people, and almost all that growth is going to be in cities. What's the healthiest and best way for them to grow so that they really become cauldrons of prosperity and cities of opportunity? What we have found is that if that family is moved into safe, green, affordable housing, places that have access to great school systems, access to jobs, and multiple transportation modes, then the neighborhood begins to thrive and really take off. The oxygen of community redevelopment is financing. And all this rebuilding that happened could not have happened without organizations like Citi.
One of the things that we really try to do is to collaborate with people like Jonathan Rose, who are really like-minded and really can also provide innovative solutions to social issues.
And Citi has formed a partnership with our company so that we can take all the lessons from the revitalization of urban America to other cities. So we're now working in Chicago and in Washington, D.C., and Newark.
It's branching off of Jonathan's expertise and the fact that he has done so many wonderful affordable housing projects, new development and rehabilitation work. And so we were really seeing that there was a need for his skill in areas even outside of New York.
It's amazing how important safe, affordable housing is to the future of our society.
You meet new people, they want to know what you do. And when you tell them your job is to invest in things like low-income housing and schools and healthcare, they're shocked and they're so surprised that a job like this exists in finance. They always say that they had no idea, and then they want to know how they can get a job like that.
It's not about how many miles you can get out of the C-Max Hybrid. It's about how much life you can fit into it. The Ford C-Max Hybrid, with an EPA estimated range of 540 miles on a tank of gas, and all the room you need to enjoy the trip. Go stretch out. Go further.
However dark the night, however dim our hopes, the light is always there within you.
His family gave him hope.
You fight harder than those other guys, and you win.
His spirit gave him strength.
We're gonna die out here.
We're not dying!
And in his darkest hour,
who is the Olympic athlete?
his faith would not be broken.
Hello, Mother and Father. This will be the first time in 2 years that you'll have heard my voice. I wish you all a Merry Christmas. Your loving son, Louis.
On Christmas Day, experience the unbelievable true story of one man's journey home.
You can take it. You can make it. Just gotta believe you can.
If I can take it, I can make it.
Unbroken, rated PG-13, Christmas Day.
The moment you connect, you're no longer in control.
What does this guy want?
No claim, no statement.
We're facing a nuclear meltdown. This is only the beginning.
Black Hat, rated R.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Yeah.
living in times where there is an assault on sanity. Political correctness has run amok and logic has been left by the wayside. Do you constantly ask yourself, WTF is going on in this nation? Do you sometimes feel like a stranger in your own country? Well, fear not. You are not alone. This is the Whiskey Tango Foxtrot Show, coming to you from deep inside flyover country with your hosts, V. Wright and Jose Estevez.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to WTF. I am V. Wright.
And I am your humble co-host, Jose Estevez. And folks, I've got it on good word that Air Force One is warmed up and taxiing down the runway as we speak because the Saudi king has died. And one last time, Hussein Obama has to go bow to the Saudi king. That's what I'm hearing. I could be wrong. Take it for what it is. Welcome to the show, folks. As always, we are coming to you live Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. We are unrehearsed, unscripted, and unpolitically correct. We are PG-13, but never PC. Welcome to the Whiskey Tango Foxtrot radio show.
And man, do we have a lineup for you guys tonight.
I am so giddy. I mean, giddy.
Are you really?
I am. I'm excited. We've got just some great people. Last show of the week, and I mean, it's chock full, folks. It's gonna go quick, but I believe we're gonna have some great people on. We're gonna get some great information out there. And I was actually. The part of the joke was that the Saudi king has died. I think he's like 90 years old or something. I mean, there's like 1,800 princes, so they'll manage it. Somebody will take over. But yeah, I would not be surprised if our very own Hussein Obama will not go to pay his respects. And I'm sure that within 24 hours, the flags will all be at half staff here. I mean, nothing would surprise me at this point. The guy that couldn't go to Paris, I'm sure he'll be able to make it over to Saudi Arabia and pay his last respects.
Make it. I mean, the rubber's probably hot on Air Force One by now.
I'm telling you what, burn that fuel, baby. It can
happen. Unreal. Well, whatever. Just another Islam is gone, in my opinion.
There we have it. Yeah. And with that, we're not going to talk about it again tonight.
That's it.
We've got plenty of other things to talk about.
It's amazing how we can get so disgusted so quickly.
Some people don't deserve much more than that. But hey, folks, remember tonight, part of our lineup that we've been teasing is we have Kent Terry and Kelly Terry-Willis. They're going to be with us at the bottom of the hour, right around 7:30. They are the siblings of the Border Patrol agent that we have talked about here on the show for a long time. Well, since we've been on the air, United States Border Patrol agent Brian Terry, who was killed in December 2010 because of the ATF gunwalking scandal, better known to a lot of us as Fast and Furious. Folks, they will be here. We don't really do like typical interviews here. We're going to let them talk, though. I want to hear their impressions, what they feel, how they've been treated. I just want to talk to the folks. They're nice enough to come on, and we're going to give them, I think, a half hour. And then, V, you want to talk about the person in the second hour?
Well, in the second hour, we have Sheriff Tom Laurie. And if you guys remember last night, we let you know that about this New York sheriff who has told his community to take those gun registration, quote-unquote, invitations, as he calls them, and put them in the garbage because he's a constitutional sheriff, and he says they infringe on people's Second Amendment rights.
Go, Sheriff. Woo-hoo.
Anyway, he has agreed to join us this evening.
Yeah,
I'm so excited.
I am too. I mean, folks, this is an amazing thing. I mean, now we were talking. I mean, V, you were talking about it last night, and I remember even saying that the concept of sheriff goes way back to England, called the Shire Reeve. And most places in America, now not all, but most places in America, the sheriff is the most powerful law enforcement agent in the county in which they have jurisdiction. They have authority over federal agents, state agents, and stuff like that. So this is really important. And boy, New York State, you guys have got a battle on your hands. You have got so many anti-gunners in your legislature that are just kind of going crazy. It's good to finally have somebody come out and speak out against it. Now, I'm sure there's other good constitutional sheriffs in New York State. I hear especially upstate tends to be a lot more conservative. But for him to actually speak out against it, and this is a gentleman of some I mean, he's been doing it for 45 years, folks, and he's a Navy vet before that. So God bless him. He decided to come on the show, and he's going to talk to us after the 8 o'clock break. And we're just glad to have all the guests that we're going to have tonight. And hopefully you will find it informative as well. And our last show of the week. So there we go.
You'll be glad to know that when I spoke with him today, I assured him that he would receive a very warm welcome from us and our listening base.
And was I correct in saying that you had said he kind of liked the name of the show as well?
Yes, he did. He says, I seem to recall that thing that stands for something else. I said, well, it was an homage to our military.
There you go. Uh-huh. I like that he catches the inside joke that is. That's good. That's great. I like that. Now, he sounds like a good guy, and we're glad to have him. And once again, just bringing you folks the most informative news that we possibly can, and the most topical and up-to-date as possible as well. And we're just enjoying the heck out of it.
If not a current event, it's surely interesting, and you won't want to miss it. Right.
That's for sure. And of course, if you're a new listener, we put our own unique spin on it. We try to have some fun, folks. Definitely politically incorrect, but we try to have some fun, because otherwise we're going to be pulling our hair out, and having early heart attacks and stuff. And we need to be very informed and very involved in what's going on, but we can only take it so seriously. A lot of us, raising families and trying to make ends meet day to day as well in this wonderful economy that we're told is so wonderful all the time, but a lot of us know better. If you go to the supermarket, you know better, quite frankly. And you know what? If this is your first time listening, then welcome to the show. We love our listeners, and you can interact with us, folks. If you want to call the show, we've got ways to do that. We're on Facebook. We're all over the place. We're definitely, and you can give us feedback. We love the immediate feedback, and you telling us what you like, what you don't like, that sort of thing. And a lot of times during the show, people will either correct us or give us some information when we're hunting for something that just, we can't quite get from our mind to our tongue and get it out and stuff. People will help us, and we just love that. That's part of the fun of doing this.
Absolutely. Speaking of which, one of our chatters in regards to the Saudi king passing away, he says, the fat sand king is dead. The son was born in 1935, so not long for his camel behind either.
Wow. Not politically correct, folks. We never will be. There you have it.
I love our chatters.
I do too. We've got some great people and some just fiercely loyal listeners, and that's what makes it fun, folks. That's what this is really all about. Hey, V, you want to talk about ATF gunwalking scandal a little bit before our first guest?
Well, before they get here, I want to make a point. Back in 2006, we had not only passed a bill to build a double-walled border fence, but we had provided the funding for it. Okay? That went away. Of course, that went away. Today, Representative McCall in the House introduced a bill, and in it calls for 27 miles of new border fence. What they fail to tell you is in that same bill, it calls for the removal of 66 miles of alternate border fence that they claim can be monitored electronically, which we know that currently they don't watch the screens anyway if the electricity is even on.
And folks, let's not forget how ridiculous this is, because Saudi Arabia, we just reported the Saudi king died. Saudi Arabia, on their northern border, are building an over 600-mile fence. And folks, this is not just simply a fence out in the middle of the sand. This has listening posts. This has helicopters, drones. I think 300 or 400
ground sensors.
I mean, they can sense people walking like 12, 15 miles out. They're doing this over 600 miles because of the ISIS incursions from the northern border into their country all the time. And we can't do that here. We can do that here, folks. There is simply no guts at the federal level to do it.
We could do it because in 2006, we had the money set aside to do it. What happened to the money?
I was just going to say, where did that money go? Follow the money, folks. Follow the money.
Poof.
This is just Well, you reported last night, too, all the
if-
money we're giving to Iran. I mean, we're giving Iran billions of dollars just to continue at the negotiation tables with us. I mean, I've never heard of such a thing. You know,
Well,
this is like
on
paying
top
the
of
bully so he doesn't take your lunch money from you, you know, beat you up and steal your food or take your lunch money from you.
And didn't I say last night it was kind of crazy that we're paying them and they are supporting terroristic, you know, endeavors. And last night we talked about one of those, which was the Iranian-backed terrorists are attacking Yemen. Guess what, folks? Today the entire cabinet resigned. They are fleeing Yemen. The Iranian terrorists have won Yemen thanks to American dollars courtesy of the milk chocolate messiah.
You know, yeah, Yemen has fallen, folks. Another terrorist state, basically, a lawless terrorist state. And I'm going to say something here, and I'm going to give him credit where credit is due. Glenn Beck, back in the day when he was on Fox, and folks, if you were following at that time, hopefully you were, he was doing the chalkboard thing. And I know a lot of people were teasing him about that. But, folks, he laid it out night after night after night. He laid it out on the chalkboards about the coming of the caliphate and how the Middle East was needed to fall and all fall in together, and this towards building of this global caliphate. Folks, here's another brick in the wall. Here's another step towards that caliphate, another country that's going to that has fallen to the terrorists. And guess who's a big backer of that one? Iran. And what does Iran want? Nothing more in the Middle East than for Israel to cease to exist on the face of the earth. Wow. And I am going to say one good thing here real quick, V. John Boehner, as much as we give him crap on this show, and folks, we don't just go after people on the left, the commies, the leftists, the Marxists, whatever you want to call them. John Boehner did a good thing when he invited Bibi Netanyahu to come to the United States and address the, I think it's the joint session of Congress. And you know how good of a deal this is and how good of a thing this is? Because Hussein Obama said he's not going to have anything to do with Bibi when he comes here. That tells you what a repugnant quote-unquote leader we have in the White House, which of course we already know. But I'll tell you what, this guy is despicable, and I'm talking about Hussein Obama, not Bibi. Bibi's a real leader. But I'll tell you, this guy we've got in the White House, he is despicable. Well, and that's the best I can say about him.
Well, you know, we initially started talking about the border fence and what they're doing there, and it is atrocious what they're doing there. It is almost like all the new guys have joined in lockstep behind their senior counterparts and pushing for the United North America, because this, you know, we've got guests coming up that you know, really, in all honesty, I really want to get their opinion on this, on what occurred today, because in 2006, had that border fence been built like it was supposed to, you have to question whether or not Brian Terry would have lost his life in 2010.
That's an excellent point. And let's not forget, folks, right away, because we got a few minutes before break here, before we bring in our first guest, the brother and sister of Brian Terry. But let's, you know, the liberals and all the people on the left say, oh no, this was started under Bush. Project Gunrunner, in fact, was started under Bush, folks. But this changed in February 2010. Now, guess who was already president in 2010? Can't blame it on Bush anymore. It became Operation Fast and Furious and became a totally different thing because they started to walk guns into Mexico. Now, folks, this isn't simply having people do straw man purchases and other illegal purchases of weapons, and then as soon as they get them in their possession, arresting them. Oh, no. They let them take them in their possession and disappear into the interior of Mexico. And the ATF monitored the sale of about 2,000 firearms, of which only 710, not even half, were recovered as of February 2012. Folks, this was a very, very dangerous thing. Now, do you think there's any culpability at the top? Let me just tell you this. Attorney General Eric Holder, and as vile and as despicable of a man as there can be, was the first sitting member of the Cabinet of the United States to be held in contempt of Congress because he would not release information, would not cooperate whatsoever. He was held in contempt of Congress on June 28, 2012. Earlier that month, President Hussein Obama had invoked executive privilege for the first time in his presidency over the same documents related to Fast and Furious. Now, if they don't want to talk, folks, don't you think where there's smoke, there's fire? You're doggone right there is. And there's a dead Border Patrol agent and his family, two of his siblings of who are going to be here in a few minutes, have not gotten justice yet. They have not gotten the truth. I suspect we all know what it is, but I definitely want to get their opinions, and we want to hear what they have to say, and they're going to be here tonight, folks.
Well, I mean, on top of that, let's be clear with our listening audience. Not only was Project Gunrunner during the Bush administration, it ceased to exist during the Bush administration.
Right. This was a totally different thing, folks. This Fast and Furious was a totally different thing than Project Gunrunner. So
exactly.
If any liberals try to tell you that, oh no, this started under Bush and this was just a continuation, that's an outright lie. It was totally different at that point.
That is absolutely correct. And Hussein and Holder, hand in hand, giddy like two little girls skipping down the sidewalk, initiated Fast and Furious.
And boy, I'll tell you what, I believe they are up in it up to their knuckles, and I think they've got blood on their hands. And, they do with a lot of things, too. Let's not forget Benghazi over and over and over again in this regime. Over and over again. And nobody holds them accountable for anything. Nothing. I can't understand it. The only way I can explain it, and I've coined the term, pigmentation immunity. It seems like everybody's afraid of them because of the color of their skin. And because of that, we won't get justice. And that is inherently wrong in this country.
Talk about racist.
Yeah, there you go, folks.
I mean, in all honesty. But, I mean, when we're sitting here talking about these weapons, look at the people in Arizona. I mean, how many times have the police said that the guns were rolled back to a Fast and Furious in drive-by shootings, in drug shootings, in kidnappings? And the guns that are retrieved were... the ones that they've collected are lockstep right back into Fast and Furious. That's where they track back to.
Right.
But you're absolutely correct. Liberals and Hussein himself says, "Oh, well, I'm just continuing a program that was started under the Bush years." That is an inerrant lie. It is an inerrant lie.
I am so sick of him blaming Bush. He continues to do it seventh year into his presidency, and they still find ways to blame Bush. I mean, Bush wasn't the greatest president of all. We've talked about that, but like I said, a lot of my credit that I'll give him is because he did seem to love America. And boy, when you saw him with the troops, man, you could tell he, honest to God, loved the troops, and they loved him too as the commander-in-chief. He'd get right in there hugging, and get right in there with them, and that's something we don't see out of this one here. Of course, we know he hates everything that America stands for. He has so much as come out and said it. And like I said, Bush gets some credit. But boy, I'll tell you what, he gets blamed for everything. And we're already in the 7th year of the regime of Hussein Obama, and they still blame Bush on everything. It's amazing. They won't take responsibility for anything. It's always somebody else's fault, like a bunch of kindergartners.
Absolutely. What have they... you look at his speeches. You look at Hussein's speeches, and what is it? It's... They. When it comes to anything where someone else should be held accountable, anything that the public at large perceives good, I.
Me. Oh, yeah, big time. Big time. He is something else. Like I said, just like a bunch of kids.
I'm just going to say this. Nothing good done is done by a single individual. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you made the money supposedly, with your own two hands in labor. If it weren't for the support of your family, you would not have gotten there. Only a pure, and I'll say it, only a pure ass would constantly say, I.
Well, he's got a high level of narcissism, among other things. I'm no clinician, but definitely has a high level of narcissism. So it's not totally unsuspected, and of course, a lot of us saw it coming before he even got elected the first time, much less the second time. But we've got a real problem there in the White House, and he's still got about 2 years left to go to continue his fundamental transformation, aka flushing the America we know, the constitutional republic it was founded as, right down the toilet. Folks, we're going to take an early break so we can come back right around 7:30 with Kelly Terry-Willis and Kent Terry, siblings of Border Patrol Agent Brian Terry, who was killed with one of those guns used in Fast and Furious down on the border. And stay with us. We have a great show for you tonight. It's going to go very quick, and hopefully you'll enjoy it as much as we do enjoy it bringing it to you. We'll be right back.
This is a station identification moment. You're listening to CPR Worldwide Media, a division of CPR Media Network, coming to you live right across the planet. Check out our website at www.cprworldwidemedia.com and our Facebook page at facebook.com/CPR Worldwide Media. This is CPR Media Network, coming to you live from the USA.
Well, looky here, a new listener. Hey, this ain't your little sister's radio station.
Over the next 40 years, the United States population is going to grow by over 90 million people, and almost all that growth is going to be in cities. What's the healthiest and best way for them to grow so that they really become cauldrons of prosperity and cities of opportunity? What we have found is that if that family is moved into safe, green, affordable housing, places that have access to great school systems, access to jobs, and multiple transportation modes, then the neighborhood begins to thrive and really take off. The oxygen of community redevelopment is financing. And all this rebuilding that happened could not have happened without organizations like Citi.
One of the things that we really try to do is to collaborate with people like Jonathan Rose, who are really like-minded and really can also provide innovative solutions to social issues.
And Citi has formed a partnership with our company so that we can take all the lessons from the revitalization of urban America to other cities. So we're now working in Chicago and in Washington, D.C., and Newark.
It's branching off of Jonathan's expertise and the fact that he has done so many wonderful affordable housing projects, new development and rehabilitation work. And so we were really seeing that there was a need for his skill in areas even outside of New York.
It's amazing how important safe, affordable housing is to the future of our society.
You meet new people, they want to know what you do. And when you tell them your job is to invest in things like low-income housing and schools and healthcare, they're shocked and they're so surprised that a job like this exists in finance. They always say that they had no idea, and then they want to know how they can get a job like that.
The design of the Ford Escape is clearly intended to grab your eye. Oh, and your foot. Huh, ain't that a kick? The Ford Escape with the foot-activated liftgate. Go open up something interesting. Go further.
However dark the night, however dim our hopes, the light is always there within you.
His family gave him hope.
You fight harder than those other guys, and you win.
His spirit gave him strength.
We're gonna die out here. We're not dying!
And in his darkest hour,
who is the Olympic athlete?
His faith would not be broken.
Hello, Mother and Father. This will be the first time in 2 years that you'll have heard my voice. I wish you all a Merry Christmas. Your loving son, Louis.
On Christmas Day, experience the unbelievable true story of one man's journey home.
You can take it. You can make it. Just gotta believe you can.
If I can take it, I can make it.
Unbroken, rated PG-13, Christmas Day.
The moment you connect, you're no longer in control.
What does this guy want?
No claim, no statement.
We're facing a nuclear meltdown. This is only the beginning.
Black Hat, rated R.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Welcome back, everybody. It's WTF, and I am V. Wright.
And I am Jose Estevez. Folks, welcome to the show. As always, coming to you live, unrehearsed, unscripted, and unpolitically correct PG-13, but never PC. If this is your first time joining us, folks, we got a really special show tonight. We've got some great guests, and our first two guests are with us, and they've been gracious enough to give us about a half hour tonight of their time. And their names are Kelly Terry-Willis and Kent Terry. Boy, I'm getting goosebumps talking about them. Their brother was killed by guns in the Fast and Furious gun-walking scandal. Agent Brian Terry, who I'm very proud that we've talked about almost since the inception of this show. We don't want to let his memory go, and we've got both of his siblings here tonight. And without further ado, we want to welcome them to the show, give them a huge Whiskey Tango Foxtrot radio show welcome. And we're just going to talk to them for the next half hour and try to find out what's going on with this case and their perceptions, and we just want them to talk about it. V, take it away.
Well, Kelly and Kent, thank you for joining us tonight.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Thank you for having us on.
Thank you.
I understand that y'all have developed a foundation in your brother's name. Can you tell me just a little bit about the foundation and how people would get involved and what exactly you do?
Yeah, the Brian Terry Foundation was established back in 2011. And what we actually do is we raise funds and take donations, and we give out college scholarships to young kids going into criminal justice. And I'm proud to say that we've already given out 9 of them.
Oh,
and the sad part is that we also help fallen agents' families. And we've actually helped out quite a few of those already, which is not a happy thing to do, but at least we can help support them.
Right.
And what you can do if you ever want to find out more about the foundation, we're a 501c3 company, and you can go on honorbrianterry.com, and all the information's on there. You can donate, share the webpage,
okay,
and see what events we have coming up.
Okay. And so once again, that's honorbrianterry.com altogether, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what do you guys do for fundraising in addition to, what our listeners could possibly do to help you? But I think there was something that just happened recently about a gentleman biking from Michigan to somewhere. Can you tell us a little bit about that? That seems like it was a huge thing, and God bless the guy that did it, too. I couldn't have gotten a 50th of the way, but... So let us know about that a little bit. What was that all about?
Well, Eric Trek, what he did was he rode on pedal bike. Some people think it's a motorcycle, but he actually pedal biked from Flat Rock, Michigan, Brian's hometown, all the way to Bisbee, Arizona, to the Brian Terry station. He biked about 150 miles a day, would stop at little hotels, meet people along the way, actually collected donations along the way. And we're really fortunate to have him. The reason that he actually did it for us was because we had a person out there that claimed to be selling T-shirts for the Brian Terry Foundation, which later we found out that it was a total scam. So Eric thought he wanted to do something great to help us get some money back for the foundation and came up with that idea.
Wow. There's always someone that's willing to take advantage of somebody else's sorrow and,
that's
guys...
That's sad. That's despicable.
It really is despicable.
Yeah, it doesn't
absolutely
so much.
Sad.
But wow.
Yeah.
Well,
there are some good people out there, but there are also some people out there that are just willing to take someone's name and roll with it. And what that man did was take the funds for himself, but we got the right people and connected with him and his employer, and we were actually able to get all the money back.
Oh, good.
Wow,
okay.
That is phenomenal. I don't know. I'm sure you guys have done interviews before. I mean, I just know you have. But, we're not the typical interview people. We kind of like to sit back and let you say the things that you feel comfortable with. We might ask you a question here and there, but, I just think it's fair for you guys to have the floor. You've earned it.
Definitely. What do you guys want to tell us about your brother and the whole? There's so much involved. There's, no accountability. It appears so far, at least if there is, it's minimal. Certainly not at the upper levels of the federal government, where it should be. What thoughts do you guys have? Your brother's been gone for several years now. I know you guys were just honoring him back in December, going down there to Arizona. Just give us some of your thoughts and stuff about all this.
I'll let you take this one first, Cal.
Well, the last 4 years have been very hard on my family, and we've struggled with keeping our head held high. We've had a lot of things going on with the government. The circumstances regarding Fast and Furious around Brian's death. The only thing we can do is just honor him the way that he would honor all of us if it was us or even one of his fallen brothers. So we just try to walk a straight and narrow and honor him the right way, but also, fight for justice, fight for the truth. And Kent's done a lot of legwork on that. He's, wrote many letters and spoke with many congressmen trying to get answers for our family. It's just a long, trying road.
Do either of you feel like you're getting anywhere?
It's always one of them 2 steps forward, 1 back kind of justice things. And it's sad because sometimes I feel like my brother's death was used as a political tool, but then they got, some good congressmen and senators like Trey Gowdy and Chavez and them that, they want to get justice. But it's sad because, you know what, these men in Fast and Furious, like I wrote earlier on my Facebook page, and Benghazi, they did that walk every day protecting us, and this is what our congressmen and senators are here for. They're here for us, and a lot of people forget that, and they should be, the IG concluded a report on Brian Terry's death. It's like, okay, you guys got the information, you guys got the the documents now, go to work. Walk that walk these guys did every day. And it angers me sometimes because you do reach out to a congressman or senator and they don't reach out back, you don't back. It's like, did you forget about it? But, I always keep positive and have faith that they don't. And then, like a week or 2 later, I'll hear something positive, and then sometimes I don't hear nothing positive. So, but it's sad, but it's true. So.
Well, it's got to be very discouraging that it's gone on this long, and really, you've got an idea of what occurred and how it came about and who was involved, and it seems like no one's in a hurry to get to the bottom of it. Committees and committee after committee, and where are the answers? Well,
yeah, you're right there, but you got Eric Holder, which is the top cop. That's supposed to be his job. That's supposed to be his job right there, is to find out what happened, why it happened, And I had a meeting with him back in, I think was it May, Kelly? May or March of 2014, me and my mom. And the guy just flat out I couldn't believe a word out of his mouth anyways, but he made it sound like it wasn't the ATF's fault, it was nobody's fault, and he just made it, he was very cold, the guy was. And it just, then you find out these reports coming out that it led all the way up to Valerie Jarrett. She tried covering it up for him. And it's like, I don't know. But, it makes me sad because I think at the same time, it angers me that the way he jumped on the Trayvon Martin case and the way he jumped on the Ferguson case. And it's like, you got 2 dead agents here, Agent Zapata and Agent Terry, that you are not even willing to get answers for. That tells me right there it leads to you. It leads higher to him. They should hold him accountable. But I'm not racist by far, but I'll be damned if if Brian wasn't a black Border Patrol agent, them white ATF agents would be held accountable by now for their actions, what they did. And I think like that, but then everybody goes, well, you're being racist. No, I'm not. No. Look at the way he's been acting.
Well, you're absolutely correct, and let's face it. At the end of the day, is before you guys arrived, we were reminding our listening audience of the events that led up to it, and everybody wants to say, well, this was the Bush program, and that was Operation Gunrunner, and it had ceased before Bush left the presidency. Fast and Furious is all Obama and Holder all day.
And that's what makes me mad, is because people always say, well, it started under the Bush program, but what they fail to remember is that that administration was also on board with Mexico. They were together doing that, and once they figured out it did not work, they ended it right away.
That's correct.
you get the people out in Phoenix, in the ATF that said, okay, let's try this again and keep it a secret, along with the administration. Blood is on their hands, so everybody's going to always point the finger to somebody else, so they don't have to be accountable for it.
Well, I will let you know that we have spoken of your brother, and we speak highly of him on a regular basis. I would be willing to bet that the senor here, Jose, mentions your brother at least twice a week on air.
If possible.
I appreciate it.
We're on air 4 days a week, and your brother gets mentioned at least twice. I'm not kidding. The same thing with our guys from Benghazi. No resolution there, and they can hope that the rest of the world forgets, but right here at WTF we're not going to, and our listeners aren't going to, because we're not going to let them.
Well, and Kent and Kelly, I just wanted to say to you guys, we have the same frustration you do with Eric Holder, and I'm never forgotten that Eric Holder was involved going way back even further when Clinton was president. Eric Holder was around back then doing the same kind of stuff and never being held accountable, quite frankly, for anything. So it really doesn't surprise me, although it does indeed anger me, that he continues to get away with that. And Kent, it's not racist to say what you said. You are exactly right, and we've seen it for the last 6 going on 7 years now, that if it was an agent of a different color, something would have been done. Something would have happened. Somebody would have been held accountable. So that's not racist at all. Kent, that is the truth, and you're welcome to say it here, my friend. You are welcome to say it here, because that is the gospel truth, and we've seen it over and over, both with the Gentle Giant that you mentioned down there in Missouri, and all that's gone on, and all that's resulted from that. I mean, it's still kind of simmering under the surface and stuff like that. They're trying to make things of it.
Yeah, with the Sweet Skittles Brown and Sweet Swisher and Sweet Swisher. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
I mean, I even talked to Border Patrol agents and even said this, Ken, you're absolutely right. And I'm like, but I got friends of all, religions and skin color, and just, and I feel like sometimes it's racist, but I'm like, screw it, it's not, but it's hard to say. It's a touchy racist, kind of a touchy thing nowadays, because I think Sharpton and Holder and Obama, they made it that way, and it's sad. But I guarantee if Brian was African American, them white ATF agents, trust me, they wouldn't be working right now. They would be sitting in a jail waiting for their trial to start. Instead, they're walking around still carrying guns, still carrying badges. No one's been fired. You know what? And it sickens me, because they're still making decisions to put Americans in harm's way. It's just not in Brian's case. The same agents who were involved in Brian's case were involved in the Jay Dobbins case. I'm not know if you're familiar with that. I mean, I even told Holder, I met him face to face. I go, look, you got a set of bad apples here. Just not in Fast and Furious scandal, but the Jay Dobbins case. And all Holder can tell me, well, it's more political than that. It's more political than that.
What is this Jay Dobbins case that you're referencing? I'm not familiar with it. I want to make sure we're familiar with it, and the listeners are as well. What are you referencing there?
Oh, Jay Dobbins was, I'll let Kelly explain it. She's more friends with him, so.
Okay.
No, he was an ATF agent. He infiltrated the Hells Angels, and after I don't like speaking for him, but after that was all over, he had a bunch of death threats against his family and everything, and he wasn't protected by the ATF. Well, his case got brought back to light after Brian was killed, because the same people involved in Fast and Furious were behind not protecting Jay Dobbins.
Right.
Okay.
So,
wow.
Yeah. I mean, so those people out, those agents, they're bad seeds. They should have been fired and held accountable way before Brian even was killed.
I got a question
just for that.
you. I've got a question for you, and I'm going to ask you, each of you, and I hate to interrupt, but I'm going to ask each of you to answer this independently. If you had to give 3 sentences that best summed up your brother, what would they be? And I'm going to ask you first, Kelly.
3 sentences to sum up Brian?
Mm-hmm.
Or words? Sentences?
Yeah, just a brief description, or what what you would want
Brian
people to know about your brother.
He was the most humble, gracious man, but he also did not put up for people that he didn't like excuses. Brian was the type of person that you had to put in the work to get where you wanted to be, and that's exactly what he always did. He wasn't racist. He had friends of all colors. He was funny. He loved to play practical jokes. He loved hard, but he also worked hard. He knew where his priorities stood in life.
Wow.
Kent.
Well, Kelly said it's right on. But you know what? Brian was 40 years old when he passed.
Mm-hmm.
He was 20 years of his life he devoted to this country in law enforcement, the Marine Corps, Border Patrol, protecting Americans. He loved this country, but he was very patriotic. He was a patriotic man. So his country always did come first. So.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm gonna
ask a personal
you
question.
would have liked him. He didn't put up with anything,
No.
but he was also,
But
he'd have fit
if he knew
right
you were
in
wrong,
around
he
here.
would let you know you were wrong without hurting your feelings. That's the kind of guy he was. But
Right. Wow. No nonsense, basically. No BS, no nonsense. He was what he was.
he was what
Exactly.
he was. I mean,
Okay. I got a question for you guys, and I don't know if you want to answer. If we get too personal or whatever, just tell us. Hey, we're not going to answer that. How are your parents doing? How are they doing throughout all this? It sounds like you guys are, working, still continuing to work a lot on this. Are they able to do that? I mean, how are they handling this? I mean, it's got to be a heck of a thing for them as well. And of course, our prayers are with your whole family. But I just, how are they doing with all this?
they're they have their good and their bad days.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say that my mom just a few months before Brian was killed, her brother had passed.
Wow.
So it was just already a hard year. But for someone to lose their son and still hold her head up high, she's got to be probably the strongest person I know.
Okay.
She fights right along with us, and when she starts to get a little tired, she reminds herself what she's doing, and she puts her bootstraps back on, and she's right back out there. For 74 years old.
Wow.
She's an amazing woman.
Wow.
That's saying a lot, definitely.
I'm going to ask
She's
you
an
guys
amazing woman.
I'm going to ask you guys another question. Today, Representative McCall introduced a House bill for 27 miles of new border fence. Now, in that bill, it calls for the removal of 66 miles of border fence. Saying that it can be handled remotely through digital means. And then we've had the massive influx of what I call invaders over the last year, and the welcoming of them with what I call the regime, the administration. How does that fit into where you guys are, or what you think?
The border security.
The border security, the influx of illegals, the dreamers, and amnesty.
Well, I'll tell you like this: say you had property, you had a 66-mile property. I mean, their agents are stretched thin as it is. You've been hearing about it on the news. What do you think? I got one or two agents per square 10 miles down there on the border. So, I mean, how is a digital thing going to work, really? I mean, by the time they see it on camera, by the time they get there, they're going to be long gone. So, I don't know how to understand putting fence up and then taking fence down is going to help secure the border. It's not. You need to give these guys what they need, and it does affect us because we see it. We talk to people. We talk to agents. I won't release their names, and they see it too, and they feel it, and they get angry and frustrated. And there's a couple that actually reached out to me to ask if I can talk to somebody because what happened to Brian, and maybe put an impact with them and get more agents down there on the ground. And boots are the way to do it, not cameras and taking down fence. I mean, me and Kelly went to that fence, that right down there. What was it, Nogales, Kelly?
Yeah.
and it was, I don't think the fence was 12 foot tall. So.
Well, I know down at Camp Lone Star, we have good friends down there. They're a very good, friend of the show. And there is no fence where they're at. They come right across from the water. They've got a tire, one of those ski tires that they just shuffle them back and forth with them. And those guys down there are encountering them all the time. And they're, of course, they say that, border checkpoints 30, 40 miles inland, which is absolutely insane. And they're having a time down there. Jose?
Well, and this whole thing about a fence, it's all a bunch of what I refer to as Bull Obama, because we had the story last week about Saudi Arabia because of all the incursions by ISIS causing all the havoc on the northern side of northern part of Saudi Arabia. They're building an over 600-mile fence, and I mean it's not just a fence; it's a multiple layer fence. It's got watchtowers, it's got helicopters, it's got drones, it's got seismic sensors, it's got people, it's got vehicles to respond. I mean, wow! If they can do it, doggone it, why can't we do it? We've been talking about it for how many years now? 30, 40, 50?
Exactly. Like my brother-in-law said, he goes, they've got $300 to $400 billion set aside for putting this wall up they never use. It's like, you got the money. Put it up. Give these guys what they need to protect us. And it's almost like they're doing it on purpose. I mean, you got to figure, Holder and Obama, they want to strip us of our Second Amendment, period. They want to take all our guns. That was part of their thing with Fast and Furious. Hey, listen, there's a gun problem from the United States, and it's coming from the United States, so we need to ban guns. You know what? How are we supposed to protect ourselves? Look at these countries overseas. They can't protect themselves because look like the French thing, France, whatever. Half them cops didn't carry guns because they didn't believe in it. The citizens can't have guns. All these people, these terrorists attack people in communities where there's no weapons.
That's
correct. You think about it. If Eric Holder and Obama's agenda was to get rid of weapons, period, how are we supposed to protect ourselves if the terrorists come here and start harming us? We got no way. I mean, it was a small picture, but I see the big picture, what they're trying to do.
Right.
Well, you brought up the great point, and that's what we always we seem to forget, and people seem to forget. You're right. The ultimate goal of Fast and Furious was to help another way to disarm or to have justification to disarm American citizens, and it backfired horribly and unfortunately resulted in the death of your brother. But you're right. That's exactly what this was about, because this regime, and indeed regimes before it, have wanted to disarm us and take away our Second Amendment rights for years and years, decades upon decades now. That's because guess what? If we don't have our guns, just like you said, we're vulnerable. We've got people coming across that border, thousands each day. We refer to them as illegal invaders because that's what they are. They're not dreamers. They're not whatever. They're illegal alien invaders coming across by the thousands every day, and we don't know who they are or where they're going, and doggone it, it's facilitated by the upper levels of the government. They're soliciting them down in South American countries to come here, telling them what to say when they get here, when they come across the border so that they get asylum.
You know what? Look how we supply Syria with guns. Look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a perfect example. I've got friends that they're not in Border Patrol or nothing, but they work down in the border, volunteer and stuff like that. But they show me pictures of people dressed, Mexicans dressed up in military fatigues, carrying assault weapons, 10, 15 miles into the United States, and they're camping out.
Yeah.
They're camping out here on our property with more gun force than our Border Patrol has.
Well,
the American people don't recognize it. They don't listen to it. They don't want to listen to it, or they don't pay attention because they're too hung up on the technology, video games, and watching reality TV shows. And it's sad because these people see it every day. They see it every day. Mexican military, or I don't know if they're Mexican military, but Mexicans with assault weapons, dressed in fatigues, camped out for days at a time. Why are they over here? There's only one reason why they're over here: to bring more people over here, or supplies of cocaine or drugs or whatever.
Right, drugs, weapons, right.
But what we also forget though is we had our own people helping these people put guns in the hands of Mexican drug cartels. I mean, just like when one of the whistleblowers asked them, "Are you prepared to go to a funeral of a dead agent if something happens?" And their response was, "You got to scramble some eggs to make an omelet." I mean, if that's the way they look at the lives of these Border Patrol agents putting their boots on the ground, that's just straight up ridiculous.
I agree.
Yeah.
You know, and then when Brian was killed, the first thing they did was send out emails asking, you know, yep, that was one of the weapons that was, you know, a Fast and Furious gun, and they hid it from my family. If it wasn't for Cheryl Atkinson and the whistleblowers, we wouldn't even know about Fast and Furious.
No, that program would still be going on, I bet. You know what? The sad thing is, they say, I talked to Eric Holder, and he says, well, we're working on, not Eric Holder, Department of Homeland Security, Johnson. I met with him the same day, and I asked him, I said, what are you going to do to protect your agents that after these Fast and Furious weapons? He goes, well, I just stepped in this job 6 months ago. That was his answer. I said, you mean to tell me you're not going to try to find out, ask Holder, hey, we need to do something about these guns because they're going to harm my agents in the future? You got, and it wasn't no 2,400 like they tell the media and the people. It was more than 4,000 to 5,000 AK-47s. They let cross. They only confiscated like 1,600 so far. They found. But the thing is, those weapons are going to be there for not 10, not 20, 50 to 100 years, and they're going to be used on our Border Patrol agents. They're going to be used on our law enforcement, our citizens. You know what? There's another thing about Fast and Furious weapons that a lot of people don't understand. If you go back and read it, January of 2010, these guns, Fast and Furious AK-47s from the United States ATF Bureau, let walk into Mexico, showed up at a birthday party, slaughtered and killed 16 kids. These weapons did. You know what?
Wow.
That's on our government's hand. You know, a lot of people they don't listen. They go, oh, it's just your brother. No, there's 300 people that got killed these weapons. That's just in Mexico. 16 of them were children at a birthday party. I mean, and then 2 federal agents. It's like, you know, in the media, except for, like I said, if it wasn't for Cheryl X or Fox News, nobody would be targeting it. They wouldn't even care. It's just like, well, this happens every day in Mexico. Yeah, but you know what? We're causing a problem now. Right. And I can't believe the outrage that Mexico's not more outraged about this, saying, hey, either they're getting some kind of kickback from Obama or something. I don't know what's going on. Well, maybe it's part of the amnesty bill. I mean, I don't know what's going on. But exactly. it's somehow it's all tied together.
Yeah, that's a doggone. I'll bet you that, like, you're right. There's got to be something going on.
Well,
doggone. That's the only thing that makes sense.
We've talked about that before.
Mexico was going to sue the United States over their gun running program, and all of a sudden they got shut down. I mean, and I've talked to people, Univision reporters that said that, and they're saying, hey, yeah, our country's going to sue your country over this gun running, and all of a sudden you don't hear about it no more. And it's just like, what is this administration is? I just want to puke every time I talk about these guys, man, and because it makes me so sick. But these weapons, the only way. If these weapons could show up at a politician's death, and that's probably when we'll get answers.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah. Kent and Kelly, we've only got a couple minutes left, and I can't believe where this half hour has gone. Fastest half hour on the radio. What do you guys want us to know about your brother or his foundation or any way people can help? What do you guys want to let us know in the last couple minutes?
All that you can do is help us get the word out about Fast and Furious. Help us fight for justice.
How can they do that? Contact their elected officials. What's the best way? Do you guys have something through the foundation that has information there? What's the best way for the folks to do that?
You can actually do it both ways. Contact your elected officials. Demand answers.
Okay.
That's really the only way it's going to happen.
Okay.
It's a crucial time right now because Senate is going to be questioning Loretta Lynch in the future right here. They're going to be asking her questions about Fast and Furious. That's why these American people need to just not for Brian, because there's going to be, I hate to say it, but there's going to be hundreds of more deaths over these guns. And it might be one of your children or uncles or family members or whatever. But the thing is, it's sad. But, they need to contact their senator and say, hey, we demand answers for these for what Loretta Lynch is going to do. And that's another thing about Loretta Lynch. She was a sorority sister with Eric Holder's wife. Go figure.
Yep, we've talked about that before. Yeah, I know. Well, let's think about it. Do you think anybody in the federal government in this regime is going to appoint anyone else that's not part of the crowd the same as them? Scumbags the same as they are? No, not at all.
No.
Well,
and she's going to cover them until Obama gets out of office. You know what? And then who knows what's going to happen then?
Yeah.
Who knows?
I sense your frustration, and believe me, we share it, and so do our listeners. We share your frustration. I want to thank you, Kent and Kelly. I can't thank you enough. You guys can come back on the show whenever you want. Anything you want to talk about, we're going to keep pushing the honorbrianterry.com, the foundation where people can help, and try to get people to write letters and try to hold these elected officials' feet to the fire, so to speak. And God bless you. God bless you folks and your parents and all you've been through. And I sure hope we can get justice someday and you can find out the truth.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everybody,
for having us on.
Thank you
it's
so
our
much
pleasure.
for joining us tonight. Thank you so much.
Yes.
You're welcome.
You.
Have a good evening, folks. Thank you.
You too. Bye.
God bless. Folks, we have to take a break. We will be back with another guest. Stick with us. It's the evening's not done yet. We got another hour, and it's just going by like crazy. Hopefully, you're enjoying it. This is the Whiskey Tango Foxtrot radio show. Stick with us. We'll be back in a few minutes.
This is a station identification moment. You're listening to CPR Worldwide Media, a division of CPR Media Network, coming to you live right across the planet. Check out our website at www.cprworldwidemedia.com and our Facebook page at facebook.com/CPR Worldwide Media. This is CPR Media Network, coming to you live from the USA.
Well, looky here, a new listener. Hey, this ain't your little sister's radio station.
Over the next 40 years, the United States population is going to grow by over 90 million people, and almost all that growth is going to be in cities. What's the healthiest and best way for them to grow so that they really become cauldrons of prosperity and cities of opportunity? What we have found is that if that family is moved into safe, green, affordable housing, places that have access to great school systems, access to jobs, and multiple transportation modes, then the neighborhood begins to thrive and really, really take off. The oxygen of community redevelopment is financing. And all this rebuilding that happened could not have happened without organizations like Citi.
One of the things that we really try to do is to collaborate with people like Jonathan Rose, who are really like-minded and really can also provide innovative solutions to social issues.
And Citi has formed a partnership with our company so that we can take all the lessons from the revitalization of urban America to other cities. So we're now working in Chicago and in Washington, D.C., and Newark.
It's branching off of Jonathan's expertise and the fact that he has done so many wonderful affordable housing projects, new development and rehabilitation work. And so we were really seeing that there was a need for his skill in areas even outside of New York.
It's amazing how important safe, affordable housing is to the future of our society.
You meet new people, they want to know what you do. And when you tell them your job is to invest in things like low-income housing and schools and healthcare, they're shocked and they're so surprised that a job like this exists in finance. They always say that they had no idea, and then they want to know how they can get a job like that.
The most amazing thing about the Ford Fusion isn't the way it looks. The most amazing thing is the way it sees. With blind spot technology, a lane-keeping system, and a standard rear-view camera, the Fusion is ready for whatever comes your way. Go prepared. Go further.
However dark the night, however dim our hopes, the light is always there within you.
His family gave him hope.
You fight harder than those other guys, and you win.
His spirit gave him strength.
We're gonna die out here.
We're not dying!
And in his darkest hour,
Who is the Olympic athlete?
his faith would not be broken.
Hello, Mother and Father. This will be the first time in 2 years that you'll have heard my voice. I wish you all a Merry Christmas. Your loving son, Louis.
On Christmas Day, experience the unbelievable true story of one man's journey home.
You can take it. You can make it. Just gotta believe you can.
If I can take it, I can make it.
Unbroken, rated PG-13, Christmas Day.
The moment you connect,
You're no longer in control.
What does this guy want? No claim, no statement.
We're facing a nuclear meltdown. This is only the beginning.
Black Hat, rated R.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Welcome back, everybody. It's WTF, and I am V. Wright.
And I am Jose Estevez. Welcome back to the show, folks. Second hour of the last evening of the week. And boy, how we hate to... We're going to miss you, folks. We always do on that 3-day break that we have. But, folks, we are not done yet with this evening's show. We have a distinguished guest here tonight with us that we've talked about earlier in the day. Folks, we have with us Sheriff Thomas J. Laurie of Fulton County, New York. And his biography is such. I want you guys to know what he's been all about because he's had a distinguished career so far and he's not done yet. Sheriff Tom Laurie began his law enforcement career as a police officer with the village of Mayfield in 1970, following a tour of duty with the United States Navy. In 1972, he joined the Gloversville City Police Department, and during that time he served as a patrolman, youth aid officer, and detective. While with the Gloversville Police Department, he attended Fulton Montgomery Community College's Criminal Justice Program. Upon retirement from the police department in 1992, Sheriff Laurie joined the Fulton County Sheriff's Office. Finding rural law enforcement to his liking, he successfully sought the office of sheriff. He took first took office in January of 1996 and has since developed a canine program as well as a dive team and an emergency response team for the county. The Fulton County Sheriff's Office is responsible for dispatching all emergency services in Fulton County. The Fulton County Sheriff's Office operates a correctional facility with 167 beds, and Fulton County has a population of 53,000 and covers an area of 530 square miles. Folks, we talked about him on the show last night. He is also a proud oath keeper, which is one of the reasons he's here based on what he's doing. And V, why don't you take it from there? Welcome to the show first, Sheriff Laurie, from myself, Jose, and we're glad to have you here. V, take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, we spoke of him last night. What an honor to have him. You might know him from recent news, not only from our show, in regards to what he believes of the state of New York's gun registration program and laws. What an honor to have you. Sheriff Tom Laurie, thank you for joining us tonight.
I'm very pleased to be with you. Thank you for having me.
Well, as you can tell, we're a conservative talk radio program. We're in 89 countries. We have an extraordinary listeners base, and we are very thankful to our listeners for that. We love our constitutional sheriffs. What got you kicking on your state with the invitations that were mailed to your community?
Well, it's part of the law that's called the SAFE Act, and I like to call it the Unsafe Act. Prior to the enactment of the SAFE Act, which was passed in the dark of night under something called a message of necessity, the people of the state of New York had no idea it was coming, and they woke up to be faced with a really tyrannical law. Prior to that, there were over 200 gun laws on the books in New York State, and in my estimation, that was way more than enough already. The new ones outlawed the very popular AR-15 style rifles and high-capacity magazines. And the pistol permit process now requires a renewal of the permit every 5 years. Now, ever since permits came into being in New York State, they were lifetime permits, and everybody that applied for one enjoyed that. Very, very seldom is there ever a crime committed in New York with a licensed firearm. There's a big firearm problem in New York State, no question about it, but they're always stolen and they're always handled by bad people. The good people of the state of New York really don't need any more laws put upon them.
Let me ask you something, Sheriff Laurie. You have 45 plus years of law enforcement experience, do you think for one moment that if they were to disarm the citizenry, that the criminals would be unable to confiscate weapons to be used against innocent citizenry?
No way. The criminals don't care what the laws are. They don't care what kind of guns they get a hold of, and they've got them now, and they're going to keep them. And if they were to disarm the population, it would just be anarchy.
Well, I personally come from the thought process that the Bill of Rights allows us the right to bear arms. Now, when I say bear arms, I bore children. I bear a heart. I bear a soul. I don't bear a house or a car or furniture. So, to me, the right to bear arms automatically says that I have the right to have it on my person. What do you think of that?
In my estimation, the Founding Fathers put the Second Amendment into the Constitution so that residents of the United States of America could arm themselves and be protected against the tyrannical government like we're seeing more and more every day.
I agree with that.
Well said. Well said. Yeah, and I believe. Yeah, I mean, I'm right along with V. Is having that arm, and an armed society is a polite society. I don't see in states where they've enacted the laws that give you the right to have a concealed carry or have a weapon concealed carry, that sort of thing. I don't see blood in the streets. You always have the liberals screaming at the top of their lungs. It's going to be the Wild West. There's going to be blood in the streets. I have not seen it in any of the states that have adopted any legislation like that in the entire 50 United States in the United States. Oh wait, I'm sorry. There's 57. According to our illustrious leader, but of course we know where he's coming from.
Well, they tell us that there are millions of assault weapons in the United States, and probably millions of them in New York State that weren't registered. Nobody can seem to let the citizens know how many people went and registered their assault weapons. The state is not willing to give up that information, and I find that ludicrous. Those people work for us. We don't work for them.
Good point. Very good point. So okay, let's go back a little bit. Give us a little bit more detail on what I'm assuming the state legislature is requiring now with this registration thing. How is this supposed to work? How did this all come about then, Sheriff?
Well, the state police got the assignment to re-register everybody who had a pistol permit. Only the kink in the law they didn't think about was that everybody's permit was going to expire on the same date at the same time. And you know what a nightmare that would be. So they came up with an idea that they would mail out invitations to some folks in certain counties and ask them to kindly renew early so there wouldn't be quite such a rush at the last day. Well, the law says 2018 is the date. I'm asking everybody to wait until 2018. All you're going to get in the mail is a letter from the state police that's asking you if you will do it. There's no penalty if you don't. I'm not asking anyone to violate the existing law. I'm just asking folks that live in my locality to not make it easy for these people.
Ah, very good. Okay. And you have a fairly good-sized county as well, correct?
I'm sorry?
No, you have a fairly good... How many people do you think would be affected by this in your county, roughly, approximately? Do you have a number, potentially?
Oh, probably 7,000 or 8,000.
Okay. So significant amount of people.
That's good. Showing up at the same place at the same time.
Woo!
Now, the state legislature tells us that there's no cost to anyone for this. Who's going to pay for it? Requires computers, requires people. Sometime, somewhere, they're going to sneak us up from behind and put a new tax on something to make this work. I think there's things that New York needs rather than enforcing laws that they shouldn't have in the first place.
What would some of those things be?
Legislature has several bills right up in front of it right now to repeal the SAFE Act, and there's several legislators that don't think it's right.
Okay.
If you think that there are some laws in New York that really need to be dealt with accordingly and dismissed, what would some of those be?
Well, I believe the SAFE Act, number one, and I believe that will be eventually thrown out by the Supreme Court of the United States because it violates the Constitution.
Right.
And unless our president is successful in writing a new Constitution, as far as I'm concerned, we're going to live by the one we've always had.
Amen. We agree with you wholeheartedly.
I like the one we've always had.
Yes, very fond of it myself too.
During the break, when you first came on, we were discussing that someone has been arrested. Some legislators, speaker, has been arrested.
In fact, Sheldon Silver, the Speaker of the New York State Assembly for many, many years, was arrested this morning in a 5-count indictment for wrongdoing, and we'll have to see where that goes in the courts. It's kind of ludicrous to me that the rest of the members of the Assembly went on record as being supporting him, and the Republican side is asking him to step down, but the Democrats are standing right firm with him.
That we've seen that lockstep, in behind, toe the line. We see that currently in Washington, D.C. as well. It is disgraceful that they would put their own political ambitions and their own pocketbooks ahead of the 360+ million individuals across this country. Of course, those that little group of less than 1,000 are more important than all of the rest of us. Unbelievable. Now, when I read that you kind of did some reminiscing about what your community was like and what it had been like prior to all of these gun control laws and everything else in New York. And I'll be honest with you, when I read it, I said, man, this sounds like Andy Taylor and Mayberry.
Well, I'm kind of proud that I come from a small community, and but the good part of being from a small community is that in my days growing up, you could leave your car in the yard with the keys in it, left your house door open. Neighbor wanted a cup of sugar, they came over and left $1 for it and went back home with it. Everybody knew about everybody, and everybody took care of everybody. Those days have apparently gone by the wayside with technology.
And that is unfortunate, so point. Very unfortunate.
Real unfortunate. I'm only sorry that my grandson will never know the freedoms and the joys that I had growing up, because he's losing more of them every day. The government is spending money faster than it can take it in by billions. He's going to have that debt on his shoulders and pass it on to his children. What a shame.
Sheriff Laurie, and that's a great point, and I think that's why all of us ultimately are concerned, is not because of us so much, but because of our children and their children. Everybody coming along that's going to have to kind of quote unquote pay for our sins, even though we may not have done it or been involved in it. Still, we didn't do anything about it in many cases either. So that's a big concern for all of us. One of my questions is, are you the only sheriff like yourself in you're in upstate New York, and it tends to be a little bit more conservative than, the New York City area and those areas. Are you the only one out there feeling the same way about this? Do you talk to other sheriffs about this?
Not. The vast majority of sheriffs in New York State feel this way. Interestingly enough, the county boards of supervisors in almost all of the counties have passed resolutions asking for the full repeal of the SAFE Act. And we got a governor that apparently doesn't think that we matter upstate. He thinks that everybody north of the Tappan Zee Bridge is a hillbilly or somebody that needs to be told how to live their lives.
So he rules New York like Obama rules the rest of the country.
Well, there's an interesting piece of the Shelley Silver scandal. Governor Cuomo enacted something called the Moreland Commission to fight corruption in government. And somewhere along the line, he found out that they were getting close to somebody. He decided to shut it down. Well, a federal prosecutor decided he wasn't going to shut it down. And now you see what happened this morning.
Wow. Corruption reigns in New York, eh? At least in certain areas.
It's crazy because it seems to me that only the conservative-thinking folks care anything about it. These voters in New York State keep electing the same people. I just don't get it.
Right.
Well,
I got another question for you about New York. Go ahead, Bea.
We wondered the same thing in the last federal elections.
Yes, we sure did. Sheriff, I've got a question for you. Let's talk a little bit more about New York for our listeners. One of the things we've been talking about a lot, and it's been in the news, is the proliferation of the Islamo-fascists all over the United States and all over the world, indeed. And, of course, we had the big massacre at Charlie Hebdo over in France. That was big news. Now, we're hearing that there's at least 20, I believe the number is 22, roughly 24 throughout the United States, training camps, or like private cities, they call them, that are run by Muslims and nobody else is allowed in or out. My understanding is that there may be one somewhere in upstate New York. Are you aware of that? What do you know about that?
I'm aware that there is such a place in Hancock, New York.
Hancock, New York, okay.
What I'm not aware of, and what I can't believe, is that the government, with all of their high sophisticated technology, isn't doing something about it.
Okay.
They seem more interested in New York with making felons out of the citizenry for possessing certain style rifles and weapons than they are in a dangerous community.
Sheriff, how do your, and that's a great point, Sheriff, how do your deputies and the folks that work for you in a fairly good-sized county up there, how do they feel about all this? I mean, are they on the side of the honest, law-abiding citizens? And what would they ever do if, God forbid, orders were to come down, to begin disarming or, something like that? Worst-case scenario, certainly, but how do they feel about that?
I know a lot of law enforcement officers in various agencies, and I don't know of any that are willing to go out and enforce unconstitutional orders.
Okay, good. Well, that's good to know. Because we always hear about, you always hear about the one or two bad in the bushel, but you don't hear about all the good ones. And I've got to think that there has got to be a lot of good people out there that are just basic Americans doing their job, and would come down like you.
100% of the law enforcement officers are really great people and heroes, and they go through things every day that no person should be allowed to see, much less be allowed to be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing to me that somebody of a different religion can walk up to officers in New York City and walk up to their car and shoot them dead. What kind of ideology is that?
Amen.
Well, you said a mouthful there. Now, give us a little bit more information. What is the power of the constitutional sheriff, such as yourself? Now, I know I think in New York City, a sheriff is a little bit different, and I know it varies across the United States. Typically, the sheriff is with the most authority, the law enforcement officer with the most authority in the county, for the most part throughout the United States. What about in New York? What is the power of the constitutional sheriff, and what does that entail? What does that mean you do, that sort of thing?
It varies from county to county. In Fulton County, the sheriff is the top law enforcement officer. He's responsible for a variety of different businesses all under one roof. We serve civil process, we do law enforcement, we run a jail, we do communications, and there's a lot of stuff that goes on that nobody even realizes.
Right. Can a constitutional sheriff override the feds in almost any case, or is there certain cases? What is that all about?
Well, I've heard it both ways, and I know that some sheriffs out in the western part of the country have actually kicked federal agents out of their counties when they were doing things that were deemed to be unconstitutional by the sheriffs. I'm also a member of the Constitutional Sheriffs and Police Officers Association. And that's run by a fine man by the name of Sheriff Richard Mack, well, I'm sure you've probably heard of.
I am very familiar with Sheriff Mack.
Definitely.
Phenomenal patriot, wonderful law enforcement, offer fine representation of what a constitutional sheriff should be. Absolutely.
I had the great pleasure of going to St. Louis a couple of years ago to talk about the SAFE Act when it was in its infancy. And there I met another great sheriff, Sheriff David Clark from Milwaukee, and he's making a lot of news throughout the country for his stand.
Absolutely, he is. I've seen several of his interviews and have been absolutely thrilled with his stand, as have our listeners. We've discussed him quite frequently here on the show.
Our New York City mayor, Bloomberg, spent quite a pile of money trying to get the other guy elected, and Sheriff Clark was reelected by resounding vote, and I think that says something to the people of his county.
Absolutely. Well, I will tell you this, you and Sheriff Mack, you guys really fill my heart because, so frequently, we as common citizens that love our Constitution. I mean, I'm one of those people, I still believe in God, family, country. The Constitution is a big part of my life. And as an ordinary citizen, it is very concerning to sit around and look at the law enforcement environment and wonder if they would actually come after me as a law-abiding citizen for standing up for my constitutional rights and beliefs.
I think they were a long ways from that day, and I think that the citizenry would rise up and prevent that from happening.
Okay.
I've got a lot of constitutional friends that are not lawmen; they're just men and women, and they are passionate about their love for America and the Constitution. And they've assured me that should I need help in keeping the wolves from our door, if you will, that they're all willing to stand with me.
Now, I have a question about that, Sheriff Lori. You have these friends. Do they strike you as terroristic?
Not at all.
They're not a danger to society or to your job or to law enforcement or the military?
As with anything else, there could be one or two bad apples in a barrel, but I haven't come across any, and I've come across nothing but folks that are steadfast supporters of the Constitution, and they may be passionate in their speech, but if that scares you, then that's too bad for you.
Wow. Amen. Amen.
I had to ask because so often in Washington, D.C., those of us who have that passion and have that desire and have that drive are classified as potential terrorists. And that I find that personally offensive. Does that? I don't know why, but I do find that offensive.
Funny that you mentioned it because last night I was at an Oath Keepers meeting and the president of the New York State chapter of Oath Keepers was there. And the Southern Poverty Law Center has classified the Oath Keepers nationwide as a terrorist organization.
Mm-hmm.
And he's leading a fight to get that moniker taken away from us. He went and met with them, the folks that run the New York State Information Center. It's comprised of law enforcement people from every walk of life, and he's had one meeting with him, and he's scheduling another, and they kind of agreed with him, but they still haven't done anything with it. And, Oath Keepers is law enforcement officers and military people, and all they're doing is refusing to enforce any unconstitutional orders.
Right.
I don't see why anybody could find a fault with that.
We are big supporters, and we agree as well here on the show. I got a quick question for you, Sheriff. About the Sheldon Silver, we had talked about that assemblyman in New York City. What do you think, and this is from a listener that just sent this in to me, what do you think will be the outcome? How far do you think the corruption will reach? And do you think it could possibly hurt Cuomo's bid for Democratic nomination if he goes for that because he didn't pursue the investigation, like you said, kind of sandbagging the whole thing? What are your thoughts on that, or don't you want to get into that? That's up to you, too. I mean, once again, you can choose not to answer if you don't want
to really comment on other than my personal views. I think that Governor Cuomo has had it as far as his presidential aspirations go. The folks in America have heard about this crazy way they pushed through this SAFE Act, this unconstitutional law in the middle of the night. And, folks nationwide are not going to have people coming after their weapons and their right to keep and bear arms.
Well, I would agree with you. I mean, we have people that, that are hunters, whether it's small or large game. We have a constitution in place that says that the reason that we have the right to have guns, and folks, it's not the rewritten Common Core version. This is the real deal version, is so that you as an individual, you alone are a militia. You don't have to be part of a group to be a militia.
Militia is a term that a lot of folks are afraid of.
Well,
they
exactly.
Really shouldn't be.
It has been demonized. Absolutely, it has.
What folks need to realize is this isn't just about the Second Amendment. This is about the entire Constitution. If you lose the Second Amendment, you're going to lose everything else. You're going to lose the right to free speech. You're going to lose the right to freedom of religion. You'll lose everything you have. You might as well be a communist country.
Amen. Well said.
We agree.
Well, Sheriff, we appreciate your time tonight. Thanks for coming on the show with such short notice. I'm going to tell you what, not just in New York State, but an entire nation of gun owners is applauding you. And we're just blessed that there's gentlemen like you out there, oath keepers, that take that seriously. And thank you so much for coming on our show. You are welcome back anytime. We'd love to talk to you as things develop. And once again, just from the bottom of my heart, thank you for doing this. And God bless you in your endeavors. And, as you continue to discharge your office, of being the sheriff, too, and all the other things you have to do on a daily basis.
Well, I have to thank you for having me. And I have to reassure you once again that you've got an avid listener now that I know you exist. I'm going to be paying attention to what you're doing. I appreciate what you're doing for the whole country.
Oh,
high praise indeed. Thank you.
Wow.
You're both great Americans.
Thank you so much, Sheriff Laurie.
Yes.
God bless you.
God bless you, and have a safe night and return home to your families.
Thank you. You too, sir.
You as well, Ters. Thank you.
Guys, we have to take a short break. We will be back in just a moment.
This is a station identification moment. You're listening to CPR Worldwide Media, a division of CPR Media Network, coming to you live right across the planet. Check out our website at www.cprworldwidemedia.com and our Facebook page at facebook.com/CPR Worldwide Media. This is CPR Media Network, coming to you live from the USA.
Well, looky here, a new listener. Hey, this ain't your little sister's radio station.
Over the next 40 years, the United States population is going to grow by over 90 million people, and almost all that growth is going to be in cities. What's the healthiest and best way for them to grow so that they really become cauldrons of prosperity and cities of opportunity? What we have found is that if that family is moved into safe, green, affordable housing, places that have access to great school systems, access to jobs, and multiple transportation modes, then the neighborhood begins to thrive and really, really take off. The oxygen of community redevelopment is financing. And all this rebuilding that happened could not have happened without organizations like Citi.
One of the things that we really try to do is to collaborate with people like Jonathan Rose, who are really like-minded and really can also provide innovative solutions to social issues.
And Citi has formed a partnership with our company so that we can take all the lessons from the revitalization of urban America to other cities. So we're now working in Chicago and in Washington, D.C., and Newark.
It's branching off of Jonathan's expertise and the fact that he has done so many wonderful affordable housing projects, new development and rehabilitation work. And so we were really seeing that there was a need for his skill in areas even outside of New York.
It's amazing how important safe, affordable housing is to the future of our society.
You meet new people, they want to know what you do. And when you tell them your job is to invest in things like low-income housing and schools and healthcare, they're shocked and they're so surprised that a job like this exists in finance. They always say that they had no idea, and then they want to know how they can get a job like that.
It's not about how many miles you can get out of the C-Max Hybrid. It's about how much life you can fit into it. The Ford C-Max Hybrid, with an EPA estimated range of 540 miles on a tank of gas, and all the room you need to enjoy the trip. Go stretch out. Go further.
However dark the night, however dim our hopes, the light is always there within you.
His family gave him hope.
You fight harder than those other guys, and you win.
His spirit gave him strength.
We're gonna die out here.
We're not dying!
And in his darkest hour,
Who is the Olympic athlete?
his faith would not be broken.
Hello, Mother and Father. This will be the first time in 2 years that you'll have heard my voice. I wish you all a Merry Christmas. Your loving son, Louis.
On Christmas Day, experience the unbelievable true story of one man's journey home.
You can take it. You can make it. Just gotta believe you can.
If I can take it, I can make it.
Unbroken, rated PG-13, Christmas Day. The moment you connect, you're no longer in control.
What does this guy want? No claim, no statement.
We're facing a nuclear meltdown. This is only the beginning.
Black Hat, rated R.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Welcome back, everybody, to WTF. I am V. Wright.
And I am Jose Estevez. Welcome back to the last segment of the last show of the week. For all of you that are joining us tonight for the first time, we hope you're enjoying our efforts. We absolutely are humbled by being able to do this. I can honestly tell you that. V and I were talking during the break, and I'll let her speak for herself. But I mean, for myself, I am just overwhelmed by the quality of people that we're able to talk to and get their stories out, and the quality of Americans that are out there makes me proud to be an American, and I always have been. Growing up overseas had a lot to do with that, you know, seeing how other countries grew up in a dictatorship and then coming back here during the 80s, you know, the Reagan era. What a stark contrast that was. And folks, I just love this country, and there's so many good people out there. And one of our listeners, one of our avid listeners, just said from New York City, said what Sheriff Laurie said about upstate holds for the city, meaning New York City. We are legion, and we have our oath keepers behind us. Constitutionally backed, law-abiding gun owners, licensed, well, and I'm sure some are not. We are many. Both sides know it, too, and God bless America. But, you know, folks, welcome to the show. If this is your first night to listen, we hope you'll be joining us. We're always live Monday through Thursday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern. And as we always say, we are unrehearsed, unscripted, unpolitically correct, PG-13, but definitely not PC. V, what have you got to say about tonight?
You know, I'm a little overwhelmed. I'm not even going to pretend. I just sat here listening to the quality of guests, the Terrys, Kelly Terry-Willis and Kent Terry, sharing, you know, what I know to be a very heartbreaking yet infuriating experience with us, and then, you know, to follow that up with Sheriff Laurie from Fulton County, New York, and so inspirational.
Yes.
In his stand, and I just can't help but sit here, and I'm sitting here watching the numbers of people that are listening to us tonight, and there are tens of thousands of you guys, and we are just so very blessed, and we cannot thank all of you, our guests, our listeners, our network. We, you know, we came into this and we figured, you know, if we had 2,500 people listening to us, we were doing good. If it was just friends and family, group chat, whatever. Just that these people would feel comfortable coming on our show and discussing these issues with us, that Sheriff Laurie would honor us with such a public display that we've garnered a new fan and he'll be listening to us. That the Terrys would feel comfortable enough to come spend time with us. That we have all of you guys. It's just overwhelming, and I just want to thank everybody, because y'all are just phenomenal, and I just sometimes don't feel like we deserve all this, and we do so humbly appreciate it. Senor?
Well, I think she said it best. We do this. We're like the vessel, folks, that we facilitate this. We want to get these stories out to you. We're learning at the same time. We don't know everything. But we see these stories out there, and we want to talk about them, and we try to add in our own little sense of humor, and we've got kind of a weird sense of humor, and it's not about us. But we just enjoy bringing this to you. You're the final deciders of if we're going to be successful doing this or not, and that's by you listening in and hopefully getting a laugh out of it too, but also maybe hearing something that you hadn't heard before, and you look it up. But like I said, the Kelly Terry-Willis and Kent Terry, I just sent him a message in the break. We were messaging back and forth, and just so blessed to have them come on the show. And he spoke with passion and conviction, as did Kelly. And it's just,
and we're going to stick with
amazing.
them. We are going to stick with them.
We have since day one on this show, and we're going to continue to do so.
Absolutely, and if they ever want a platform with which to share any information, they are welcome here. If it means we've got to reschedule someone, and the same goes for the families of Chris Stevens and Sean White and Tyrone Woods and Glenn Daughtry. Any of those people need a platform, they're welcome here, and time will be made for them. Yes. Because that was a big indicator for us doing this show, was to inform and provide a platform, and we have it, and God knows we are going to share it with those who need and deserve it, who have a message that is important to those of us who genuinely still love this country, the way it was founded, and where it stood as a Judeo-Christian society. And I don't care if you're an atheist and you're listening, you have to acknowledge exactly what this country was founded on, and it worked. And now it's trying to be torn asunder from the very people that are supposed to have its best interest at heart, and they do not.
Well, you know what, V? That's interesting, because all the people we have in the federal government at this point take an oath that they're going to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States, just like Sheriff Laurie did, and takes it very seriously as an oath keeper, in addition to being a sheriff of his county. And, folks, they crap on it every day, more and more and more. They do everything they can to destroy the Constitution. They call it fundamental transformation, so it doesn't sound so bad. Oh, that sounds good. Because, folks, V and I are the first ones to say that this country is not perfect and it has warts. But you know what? There's no other country in the world I'd rather say I'm from and live in. I'm going to tell you that right now, and it's worth fighting for. And it is just it's just amazing. And like I said, these people all took this oath, and they're not following it. And that's why it's so discouraging and so exasperating and angers us so much as well, because not only do they not honor it, they're going against it. They're undermining it. They're subverting it. They're trying to destroy what this country is all about. And folks, we can't sit back and let that happen anymore. These commies, these leftists, these liberals, whatever you want to call them.
This tyrannical government. The good thing, the thing that Sheriff Laurie really brought out in me, in all honesty, is I started thinking about when I began putting decals on the back of my vehicle. And my vehicle clearly states my point of view.
Yes, it very much does, folks. Trust V on this one, and trust me, I've seen it. Yes, it does. No doubt.
Yeah, it leaves little room for doubt on where I stand with things. And since I have begun assembling the artwork on the back end of my vehicle, I have had more encouraging words from police officers, from law enforcement, than anyone else, in all honesty. And, to actually hear Sheriff Laurie say, the vast majority of us across the country feel the same way you do. And, I get that question a lot. What's going to happen? Our law enforcement, we know we have some bad officers out there. I'm not going to sit here and apologize for them. I'm not going to pretend like they don't exist. They do exist. But I think when push comes to shove, you will even see some of them say that is too far. And I guess that was really encouraging. The thing with the Terrys, it is discouraging that the top law enforcement officials in this country are totally ignoring that which all of their underlings find so valuable.
Sworn to uphold the law, folks. Like Kent said, the top cop in the United States, Eric Holder, who is, in my opinion, is just pure scum, and he was pure scum back when he was in the Clinton administration in the Department of Justice under Janet Reno. If you don't remember that, yes, he was involved way back then already. It's just despicable, folks. It is just despicable. And, they sandbag him, but like I said, they're deep in it, and he brought out a great point that we don't often talk about. This whole thing was based on them trying to find another way to be able to disarm law-abiding citizens, another excuse, another reason to do so. That appears to be exactly what that was all about.
Well, Ken Terry brought up another valuable point. He says, it's almost like this is all intentional at the border. And believe me, folks, it is. In 2006, they had the money to build a fence. Saudi Arabia could do it, but we can't here in the United States. Jose was very right about that. That is absolutely absurd. We're the most ingenuity-grasping country in the whole world. Look where everybody was before the age of technology of the last 150 years that started right here. How many patents have we developed? Look at the internet that you're listening to us on. That was not Al Gore's deal, but it was out right here out of the United States. An American did that. An American. I didn't do it. You didn't do it. An American did that.
One of the greatest inventions probably in the history of the world. Look what it's done. I mean, it's got, for all of its negatives, it's got so many great things, and able to bring us all together, bring those of us of like minds together, in ingenious way for us to be able to have contact and know that, just like our introduction to our show says, even though we're deep in the heart of flyover country, we're not alone. There's others out there that believe the same thing. We don't have to walk around with our heads hung low because we're proud of our country and we love our Constitution. No, there's more of us out there than them, folks. I firmly believe that. I don't care what the vermin in the mainstream media tell you and try to get into our minds to knock us down. No, I firmly believe there are more of us than them any day of the week.
Throw your shoulders back and hold your head up high, people, because we are the majority. And when push comes to shove, many more will join us if they don't do it out of anything more than fear. Let's face that. But I was sitting here thinking about Hussein's delivery, the milk chocolate Messiah, in the White Mosque. When he delivered, you didn't build that. You know what? The Wright brothers, they built that. Amen. Henry Ford, he built that. Mm-hmm. Tesla, he built that. Windows, whatever. But Al Gore did not build that. Hussein did not help you build that. Hussein, the only thing that he is building in this nation is a country that bows to the feet of Allah. And anybody can sit here and call me out and say, I don't know that. Let me tell you, if it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it's a frickin' duck, okay?
I agree. You know, we've often been asked on the show, well, do you think he's a Muslim? Now, V will say flat out, yes, she believes it. I will say I at least know that he facilitates things that they do, and he supports them about 110%. So whatever that means he is, you go and figure that on your own, folks. But I'll tell you what, and he hates the United States. He said it over and over. He wants to bring us down to the level of other people rather than a true American leader would bring him up, bring everybody up, because in bringing us all up together, we're better, we're stronger.
Senor, he doesn't...
Yes.
He doesn't. That duck does not cluck like a chicken. It doesn't honk like a goose. It doesn't cheep like a little field bird. It quacks like a duck.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's true. Hey, folks, we're almost done, and before we go, we've got a few minutes. I want to read a poem. This poem, and I previously, when I read this, I attributed it to Brian Terry having written it. His sister just informed me that no, he did not write it, but he was a very big fan of it, his favorite. She says he carried it with him and put it on his desk. So I want to read that real quick before we go out for the evening. The poem is, if today is to be the day, so be it. If you seek to do battle with me this day, you will receive the best that I am capable of giving. It may not be enough, but it will be everything that I have to give, and it will be impressive, for I have constantly prepared myself for this day. I have trained, drilled, and rehearsed my actions so that I might have the best chance of defeating you. I have kept myself in peak physical condition, schooled myself in the martial skills, and have become proficient in the applications of combat tactics. You may defeat me, but I'm willing to die if necessary. I do not fear death, for I have been close enough to it on enough occasions that it no longer concerns me. But I do fear the loss of my honor, and would rather die fighting than to have it said that I was without courage. So I will fight you, no matter how insurmountable it may seem, to the death if need be, in order that it may never be said of me that I was not a warrior. Wow, that's powerful.
That is extremely powerful.
Once again, in memory of Border Patrol Agent Brian Terry, we had his siblings on earlier tonight. Just an amazing show, folks. I'm overwhelmed. We're just so blessed in this country by the quality of Americans that we have. And thanks for letting us come into your homes and share it with you and let you know that you're not alone. We're not alone. There's more of us out there. We're together. And just to spread the word, spread the truth. Maybe you learned something. Maybe you did get a laugh of something, something that was poignant. Or, maybe sometimes we shed a tear too over something that's very touching, and tonight's show certainly had part of that. So I just want to thank you all for joining us. I always say God bless America. V, take us on out.
Wow. That's very moving. And as you were reading that, I was sitting here, just thinking about the Terrys, and I'm just really at a loss for words. My heart goes out to them. They've been included in my prayers for so long now. It's really overwhelming. It truly is overwhelming. Tonight was just a slam dunk night. Guys, we really appreciate you spending the evening with us. You guys are why we do this. We're here every night, and many of you are as well. And again, sometimes it gets overwhelming, and we are sincerely humbled on a regular basis by our guest and our audience.
Amen.
But we are coming to the end of the night. I do want to remind you guys that coming up next will be the Ruthie Report with Ruthie Hendricks. Make sure you stick around and tune in for that. If you would like a copy of our archives, they will be available. This show will be available tomorrow afternoon at www.thewtf radio show, as well as on YouTube. You guys can Twitter us at the WTF Radio, and find our Facebook page at WTF, the Whiskey Tango Foxtrot Show. Guys, we've enjoyed this week. We hope you have as well. We'll be back Monday. You can guarantee that. And you guys have a nice, safe weekend. Good night, everybody.
These mist-covered mountains are a home now for me, but my home is the lowlands, and always will be. Someday you'll return to your valleys and your farms, and you no longer burn to be brothers in arms. Through these fields of destruction, baptisms of fire, I've witnessed your suffering as the battle reached high, and though we didn't have me so bad, in the fear and alarm, you did not desert me, my brothers in arms. There's so many different worlds, so many different souls, and we have just one world, but we live in different worlds. Now the sun's gone to hell, the moon riding high. Let me bid you farewell. Every man has to die, but it's written